Good afternoon, sports fans, and welcome to Real Talk Sports Edition with your host, Brian Poduska. I am Lyndon Wilson, the creator of The Difference and the co-host of Real Talk Sports. Got a lot of exciting guests today. We're going to introduce those to you. Today's big deal, though, Arkansas Razorbacks versus Texas A&M Aggies in DFW. We're going to talk a little bit about that matchup. We're going to have Coach Todd Ford, head coach of the Plano Senior High. He's going to talk a little bit about their team and their big matchup this week. Got some big Razorback fans and Aggie fans that are going to be coming on with us, so stay tuned. Here we go.
Welcome to Real Talk Sports Edition with Brian Poduska, where you will get sports talk and sports opinions hotter than a Texas summer.
Are you ready?
I am ready. I know that. Lennon, thanks for that intro. You are watching Real Talk with Brian Poduska, Sports Edition. I think we are on week 5 of the new format, talking strictly sports, whereas previously we had a business topic of the month and rotating co-hosts. So we've changed it around a little bit. If you've seen the show previously, we are focused on sports, hot sports opinions, and really the sports as a whole as it relates to the community as well. So we've got multiple different angles. We talk high school football. We talk college football, NFL football. We will get into the other sports, basketball, and other things as we go throughout, the different seasons. So welcome to the show today. Happy you guys are listening. Lennon, why don't you jump on real quick and we'll kick this thing off.
All right,
What's up,
man.
my friend?
Not much. Excited about the show, obviously. I've been waiting for this one ever since we started. So.
Dude, I think you've been working on that background since we thought about the idea of the sports show. You have had this one circled on your calendar, I know, for months, because we've been talking about tailgating and the sort of celebration that we'll have afterwards and the pre-party and all that stuff. So I know you've got some setup going on with the tailgate, not so much at AT&T Stadium, but I think an even better idea because of the tailgate scene over at AT&T is a little bit lackluster, I'd call it.
Yeah, it's kind of so spread out. I mean, and then of course Jerry loves his tailgate spots, and so we were looking into that, and I'm like, good Lord, I have to have a mortgage just to go out for a weekend. So. We're planning to do something a little different. I wish we got a new sponsor coming on, Walk On Sports Bar. I wish we would have had that connected. I think that would have been a great place to do a watch party. So anyway, we're going to have a great show today. We're going to talk about that. We're going to get some high school football in here. I think we're going to start with that first. And I've got some buddies. You got some buddies. They're going to come on and talk. Hopefully get a little trash talk going back and forth about the game, and we'll just see what happens. Hopefully I'm wearing this shirt again next week, and I don't have to wear an A&M shirt.
Well, I think the side bet that you had placed with behind the scenes before he came on was you'd do the show shirtless if the Razorbacks lost. So you know who I'm pulling for.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it shirtless because we would definitely not have any viewers anymore if we did that. So.
Well, awesome. So yeah, you mentioned up front, we've got the head coach of the Plano Senior High, Mr. Todd Ford, joining us today. So out of respect for his time, let's bring him on first, and let's have a good conversation with Todd.
All right. Hello, Coach.
Good afternoon, you guys. How are we?
Well, great, man. Welcome to the show. Thanks for coming on.
Well, thank you guys for having me, and thinking a little bit about high school sports as well. I know it's popular here in the state of Texas as well. It is in Arkansas as well. So it's a pleasure to be here.
It's great to have you on, and thanks again for joining us. I know you have a lot of things going on your calendar, so we appreciate you taking the time to jump on the show with us. I did a little bit of reading up on your bio, before you jumped on, and one of the things that popped that I saw, we'll go back, talk about you a little bit, and then talk about your program. But I saw that you were a multi-sport athlete in high school. Is that true?
Yeah, I was. I grew up in the coastal Bend area of the state of Texas, outside of Corpus. Smaller school where if you chose not to play all these sports, they were going to call you in and make you. And
You didn't
so
have a choice,
I
huh?
was fortunate enough to be able to do so. But yeah, I was in 5 sports growing up, and I wouldn't trade it for anything. I'm very thankful that I was able to do all those.
Well, that's awesome. And when I read that, I myself was a multi-sport athlete, and that was a much easier thing to do when we were growing up, right? It's become much more difficult now, if not impossible. So I always love getting a coach's opinion, especially a coach of a big time program. What's your viewpoint, and how lenient are you, I guess, with the other players, your players in particular, that want to do or ask to do multiple sports?
Well, Brian, I'll say this: that is a tremendous question, and anytime I'm asked, I absolutely oblige with my answer, which is it's on us as adults to allow our kids to do anything that they want to do, and so therefore, this is one of the largest schools in the state of Texas. If we have kids that want to be in the band and want to play sports, we let them. If they want to jump from 4 sports to 2 to 1 to 3, does not matter. It's on us as adults to work their schedule to allow them to do everything that they want to do, just because it's powerful. And on the other side of the fence, the recruiters that come through here, they actually prefer multiple sport athletes, on their signing classes, just because they feel like that athlete still has a high ceiling. They haven't reached their potential yet because they haven't devoted all their time to that single sport. So quite honestly, it's the multiple sport athletes are the ones that they want to go grab. So anytime I speak to parents or to luncheons, whatever it may be, I try and address that, because our parents are being told you need to specialize in one. Yet the realities are, if they want to play at the next level, they're going to have to be extremely superior to anyone else if they're a single sport player. The multiple sport player is the one that really they would prefer, because the ceiling is just so much higher.
That's an awesome perspective. I hadn't heard that that from the college perspective, the recruiting perspective, that's actually preferred. So that's really good to hear, actually. Because just the athletic development and talent development, I think it makes a ton of sense to if you're able to play multiple sports. A lot of the same disciplines apply, whether it's basketball, football, baseball to some degree. I was speaking as a dad to a high school hockey player. My son started playing multiple sports. He started with soccer, moved down to basketball, and then of course he got skates on his feet and a stick in his hand. Fell down every time he tried to get up, but eventually loved the sport of hockey, or at least loved skating. And then, then he started playing organized hockey, and it's been as his career has progressed, all the other sports kind of fell to the wayside, and it wasn't totally by choice, but it was more from his personal preference, and his passion was hockey. And then it became, how do you balance the schedule? And that became more and more difficult. And hockey is a unique sport in that it's pretty much year round. And it's one of those sports that unfortunately you can't do like with football or basketball. Certainly there's skills involved in each sport, but at least you're on the same surface and you can put on sneakers and run. But if you can be the greatest athlete in the world, but if you don't know how to skate in hockey, then you're trash.
Well, kids are gonna have their passions, and we want them to chase their passions. We just don't want to do anything as adults to put out that fire. But ultimately, as they get older, they are going to end up choosing into one or two. The thing we have to do as adults and as parents is make sure that we're watching to make sure that they don't become injury prone. Just due to overtraining. The body needs its own time to recover. And if we don't watch out, they're going all the time. And next thing you know, they're dealing with major injuries. And a major injury can affect, obviously, a college career or anything above that. So that's what we have to watch out for. But as long as the kids have a passion, it's our job as leaders and as adults to allow them to chase it.
That's great perspective, and thanks for sharing that. All right, so we'll shift gears a little bit. Let's talk about you and how you got to Plano, and how you're building that program, because I know you haven't been there too long, but I saw your track record and it looks fantastic as far as rebuilding programs starting from scratch. So tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I tell you, it apparently the man upstairs designed that for me to either start a program, rehabilitate a program, whatever it may be. I'm not saying it's the best for my health, but I take a lot of pride in doing it. I think there's one way to operate, and it's first class in every aspect, whether it's how you treat the players, the expectations you have for the players. I think that's just extremely, extremely important. And I was hired here literally 6 hours before the county, our county is Collin County here in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, 6 hours before the county shut everybody down with COVID. So I was snuck into a administrative room, signed my contract, and then said, hey, by the way, you need to hurry up because we're about to send everybody home. And, we've been running full speed ahead ever since. So, fortunate to be in a place like this with unbelievable tradition, extremely high expectations. And, tomorrow night we're going to have the ability to play a crosstown game that's an extreme rivalry that's very important to our community. So, that's what makes doing this a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's awesome. So your game is against East Plano coming up?
Yes, there's 3 schools here in the Plano Independent School District. It's us, Plano East, and Plano West. Tomorrow night we will play Plano East, and that game started in 1982, and it's alive and well. And Plano East was the second senior high campus to be built in this community, and this one carries a lot of weight, in the community and the followers. Let's just say that.
Well, 1982, so Plano is now a city of roughly 250,000 people, right? It's massive. Back in 1982, I don't know the statistics, but probably 30, 40,000 people, if that.
Yeah,
so,
you're right. I'm not completely sure either. But, Plano at that time was really as far north as you could go to still be in suburban Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. Allen was really small at that time. There wasn't even a Prosper, Texas. McKinney was small. So really, as you came out of the Dallas area, you went Richardson and then into Plano. And so we were kind of as far north as you would go. And obviously, every day and year since then, it just continues to grow. So, it's really cool thing to be a part of.
Yeah, no,
Coach,
awesome.
real quick, I was just thinking the first time I've been in Dallas now for 30 years, but the first time I ever heard of Plano was obviously as a kid, Razorback fan, and Billy Ray Smith Jr., who came out of Plano, was a linebacker for Arkansas, and so I was like, "What is Plano?" I mean, you didn't know what it was. It wasn't really that big back then, but I think most Razorback fans would be anybody watching this. My buddies back in Arkansas, they probably know of Plano only because of Billy Ray Smith.
Well, yes. For us to go through the long laundry list of unbelievable players that have come through this high school campus, it's a long list. We've won 7 state championships, and you can go right on down the line. Terry Price is an assistant coach at Texas A&M right now. He still has the record for the shot put here, here on campus. And we've had NFL players, obviously a ton of college players, and that's really a cool thing. It's rich in tradition, and I've had the ability to start a program from brand new. I've had the ability to coach at one that has a ton of tradition, and the fact that we have it, it's awesome, because if you don't have it as a coach, you'll do anything you can to get it. You'll rent it, buy it, lease it, do anything you can to get it. So I prefer to be on the side of the tradition piece, just because it means a lot, not only to the kids but also the community.
Yeah,
that's great. So, real quick, Coach, it looks like you're also the athletic director over at Plano Senior.
Yeah, I'm the athletic coordinator for the central cluster of schools. We have an athletic director here that's in charge of the entire district. His name's Jeff Smith. He's phenomenal. I'm in charge of the central cluster of schools, which, without boring you guys, it's 5 middle schools, it's 2 9 and 10 campuses plus our campus. So it's 8 total schools that I'm overseeing athletically. So it's big, it's busy, but it's a lot of fun too.
That's kind of cool. So you get to see the youngsters develop into, the players that you may eventually coach.
Yes, and it's critically important. The vertical alignment is, you can't do it without it. The little ones need to be running what you're running. They need to call it what you're calling it. And when you get that, you have the chance to be really successful for a long time. And that's kind of how I choose to build a program. I want to build it inside out. I want to be successful at the lower levels, and that success will grow to the higher levels. But you're doing it the right way, and you have to speak the same language. Big games are won or lost by very simple offensive plays and very simple defensive plays. And the longer you can do that, a lot of times they're making that play, and it's the same play they've been running for 4 or 5 or 6 years. And so that's the vertical alignment that you really have to have. So it's good for us to be able to have that.
Oh, that's fantastic. So, Coach, we're got to take our first commercial break real quick here. We can come on the backside, maybe wrap up a little bit with this game coming up, against Plano East, and we'll go that route. So, Lennon, go ahead and hit the commercials.
The difference is made possible by the following small businesses.
Real property management focus. An unmatched level of service to property owners, investors, and tenants throughout the DFW Metroplex.
Katie Owen, the insurance gal, helps overwhelmed Medicare-eligible people successfully navigate the enrollment process. When turning 65, retiring, and signing up for Medicare for the first time, it can be confusing. So it's important to get guidance from someone you can trust. Katie helps her clients navigate the enrollment process in a way that eliminates the feeling of being overwhelmed and unsure and leaves her clients feeling relieved and confident. If you have questions about the Medicare process and want advice from someone you can trust, reach out to Katie at 972-943-3943 or at her website, www.insgal.com.
When you need a trusted roofing company on your side to help you out with storm damage repair for your roof, call Cook DFW Roofing. Serving Anna, Melissa, Princeton, Prosper, Van Alstyne, and all of the DFW area.
Red Branch Realty and owner-realtor Ashley Gentry are true champions at every level. As a top producer, Ashley Gentry and Red Branch Realty truly embody their mission of being your supporter and partner in your personal real estate journey. So if finding the best representation possible in achieving the American dream of homeownership is important to you, give Ashley a call at 972-342-1869.
For more information about our sponsors and their services, or if you would like information on how you and your business can partner with or sponsor this show, or others like it, just check the show description or comments for the relevant links and contact information. And now back to the show.
All right, we are back. Thank you to our sponsors. We couldn't do this without you. We are back with Coach Todd Ford of the Plano Senior High School. They've got a big game coming up against crosstown rival East Plano this Friday. I believe it's at East Plano, right, Coach?
It's going to be at one of our local stadiums. It's Clark Stadium.
Okay.
And so it's our home game, so they have to come to us, but it's not.
Okay. Okay, awesome. Well, and let's just talk about that game real quick. It looks like East Plano's 3-0. You guys are 1-2. I know you faced some tough competition. You've had 2 nail-biter games, it looks like, from the scores. Tell us a little bit about the season so far and what you expect coming up for tonight or tomorrow's game.
Well, we opened the season against Byron Nelson team, which is located just north of the airport here in the DFW airport. A really high quality team that is doing really, really nice things in the state of Texas right now. We're able to play them, and they just continue to grow. So we took one on the chin there, but it's coming to find out that they're really, really good.
It looks like you're not alone in that. It looks like they're beating up on their opponents pretty good.
Yeah, there's no doubt they're doing a lot of nice things. We were able to beat a Keller Central team week 2. And then last week we lost on the last play of the game, or 2 weeks ago we were open last week. We lost on the last play of the game, 4 seconds left. We're preparing for overtime. They put the ball in Arlington Bowie put the ball in a player's hand who has special abilities. He's committed to Texas Tech right now. He's got about 30 offers. He decided to cross the field about 3 or 4 times before he put his foot in the ground and went north. And let's just say we got all caught in between the hashes. And so we got beat on the last play. So kind of ripped our heart out. I feel like, we had every opportunity to be 2-1. But that being said, that's the game. And you got to play every snap like whether it's the first or the last one, you have to play it like it's what it's meant to. And that play was one that hurt us. But we are playing Plano East, tomorrow night. They're 3-0, and they've played some nice competition. The greatest thing I can say about them is they're finding a way to win. All 3 games have been 1-score games, and credit them and their staff. Tony Benedetto's their head coach. It's his first year there, and he's doing some nice things with them. Whether it's high school, whether it's college, sometimes even professionally, but more importantly, really in college, when you play big rivalry games, you can throw records out the window. Teams are going to play, and they're going to play really hard, and the team that makes the least amount of mistakes quite often is going to come out victorious. But you never know what can happen, and that's what makes these games special.
Well, indeed. And, as much as losing on the last play of the game is heartbreaking, like you said, you stay in these close games and you figure out a way to win. It's going to take some losses here and there to help learn. And, I'm sure your young men are learning from every game that they play in. So that's great. Best of luck to you this weekend, Coach. Look forward to seeing the results of that game and potentially tuning in where we can. I've got to see how to look it up and see if we can tune in online somewhere. You said earlier, your motto is do everything first class. Thanks for coming on the show. You were first class today as usual, so thank you for that. Lennon, anything from you?
No, I hope he can stick around. He's got a couple of stories I want to talk to him about. But our next segment coming up, we're going to bring some guys in that are big fans of a big college game coming up in the DFW area this week. Arkansas Razorbacks. If you can't tell, I kind of like them versus the Aggies, Texas A&M Aggies. So we're going to go ahead and bring those guys in now, if you're ready, Brian. And
let's do
we'll
it.
Get that going. And Coach, when you need to go, you just let us know. We want to be respectful of your time.
I sure will. Look forward to it.
All right. So first I'm going to bring in Shannon Cagle and Sean Rochelle. Appreciate you guys being here. Hopefully Rod will be back on at some point. He had to step off for a minute. But Shannon, you were on last week. I'm going to let Sean introduce himself first today and talk a little bit about who he is and his background. Shannon, we'll let you introduce yourself, and then we'll get into talking about the Razorbacks and the Aggies.
And before you start, Sean, sorry to interrupt, but Shannon, I feel sorry for you today. Normally I wouldn't feel sorry for you, but Lennon stacked the deck against you. If we do have Rod pop back on, it's 3 versus 1. So maybe just out of sheer sympathy for you, I'll be an Aggie fan this week.
Hey,
I reached out to 10. I reached out to 10 Aggie fans, and I don't know if they were scared to come on. One of them actually said, him, Shannon. He's one of our friends, Mike Tollison. I said, come on the show, give your prediction. He goes, I'll give you my prediction right now. Arkansas is going to beat us by 4 touchdowns. He said, I don't want to come on there and embarrass myself. So,
I saw two of the people you had on there, but I didn't see the rest of them.
Yeah. So unfortunately, he didn't make it on. I was hoping he actually played at A&M. I was hoping to have him on.
He was a walk on and had a story done about him. So I'm surprised that he didn't step up more on that.
Yeah, but I've not found 2 people, you and him, that bleed the Aggie maroon, if you want to call it that, whatever that color is, more than y'all do. So, All right, Sean.
All right, Sean, go ahead.
You're up. Tell us a little bit about who you are and why you love the Hogs, man.
Yeah. So, first, thanks for having me on. Intuitively, I have a feeling that Shannon will be able to more than hold his own. I just got that vibe. I know those Aggie fans are all in. I don't want to use the word cult, but I will tell you the friends I have, there is no question they are 100% Aggie. That's no doubt. So yeah, just about me. Lyndon, we went to college together. I played football and went to University of Arkansas Monticello. I was a graduate assistant coach with a guy named Ken Hatfield here in Clemson, which was an unbelievable opportunity. And he's still a good friend and an incredible mentor, one of the finest humans, not just coaches I've ever been around. But I've been in college athletics from that point on. I've been an administrator and currently I've been a fundraiser. And now I work with Arkansas Sports Properties. So we handle all the sponsorships for the Razorbacks for all sports. So I'm calling in from the football stadium right here.
Nice.
So it's not a bad view. It's not as loud as it is on a Saturday. But anyway, just glad to be a part of it. And before we switch, I just want to say a quick thing about Coach Ford and something that he said that, man, I can't tell you how much respect I have for it. I have 3 daughters, and what he alluded to about multi-sport athletes and just believing that it's an adult thing to help them, to support them, to work with them, to encourage them. I just wish there were more people out there that believe that. I think too many times kids get funneled into one sport, burn out opportunities, and they don't develop as a person. So much respect for what Coach Ford shared early on in the last segment.
Amen.
Yeah.
Love it.
All right, Shannon, your turn.
Shannon Cagle, as they pointed out, I graduated from A&M in 1992, so we had some really good times while I was there. Now I do commercial insurance for pain insurance here in McKinney, and then also run a nonprofit called Creek and Timber Legacy, where we take out disabled veterans, first responders, and children on outdoor adventures, everything from camping, hiking, hunting, fishing, whatever we can do to help them get back in the outdoors.
Also
All right.
sponsor of the show as well, Creek and Timber.
Yes.
Yep. So, all right, let's talk sports. Hogs versus Aggies. The Hogs, I don't know if Cincinnati is what they were last year. That's our first game. We looked pretty stout there. Played South Carolina. I don't know if that really tells us anything, Sean. I mean, you can talk about that a little bit, but don't know how good they are or how bad they are. And then we meet up with Missouri State. Now, for people that don't understand that game, it's a little bit different. It was an FCS school. They're coached by one of the most successful coaches short term as far as being on the field that ever came through Arkansas, and that was Bobby Petrino. And if you know anything about him, if you know anything about football, you knew he was going to have his team ready. And I think one of the most interesting things for me, I believe they've got 21 D1 FBS athletes that they got out of the portal at some point in time. So they're not your typical FCS team. Sean, would I be kind of correct in describing that?
Yeah, and I think, this might have been before we got on the air, but Coach Ford was alluding to just the transfer portal and the effect it's having on high school kids getting scholarships, but also it's really I think it's going to continue to become kind of the great equalizer in some sense for FCS schools. Their ability to go and immediately be eligible, Division I players who, for whatever reason, aren't staying where they are. Man, you're not facing an FCA school that was built from recruiting high school athletes. To me, it just changes everything. The level of talent from Missouri. Coach Trino's a great scheme guy. Obviously, I think everybody knew offensively they would do some things that would give us trouble. But you pair that with Division I athletes, and you got a recipe to have to win in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think you have that clear distinction like you used to have, or those expectations like you used to have. I mean, a couple of weeks ago, Appalachian State came in, and I'm not trying to kick you while you're down, but they're not the old Appalachian State everybody used to think that they were, right? I mean, they got I'm not going to say lucky, but they beat Michigan several years ago when Michigan was number 5. That was kind of an anomaly, I believe, back then. But App State has built a program, and I don't think that anybody can discount them anymore. And Sean, to your point, with the transfer portal and NIL, some of these smaller schools are going to start competing with some of the bigger schools. I mean, look at what Deion's done at Jackson State. That's it's a game changer.
Well, we talked about that last week. After that game, when you and I told you I felt like that was something a little different that the portal was bringing up because the quarterback at App State was a D1 quarterback, previously before coming there. Same thing. So you got to see part of that in your Missouri State game. Fortunately, you were able to go down and score in that last possession, and we didn't. So but I think it's going to continue to be an equalizer. There's a bunch of teams out there, a bunch of players that are good players. The same thing. I think Texas got a scare too for about 3 quarters from University of Texas San Antonio because they weren't they were behind in that game. Same thing, a bunch of D1 transfers that are playing down there as well. So it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, so I like that. Let me, Brian. I want to ask Sean and Coach Ford a question. When you're looking at these smaller schools like UT San Antonio and App State, and then you're looking at Missouri State. When you look at those first couple of quarters and they're playing up to the level of the behemoths, I guess is what you would call. Do you think that the depth on those teams is really why they kind of fade towards the third and the fourth quarter? I know that coaching at a small high school, when we played against superior talent, many times our first 11 was just as good, but as they started to tire and we started to substitute, it just wasn't the same thing. So do you think that's kind of what's holding them back now and allowing some of the bigger schools to continue to win?
Coach Ford, you want to go first?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think, Lyndon, you're hitting it right on the head. I was fortunate enough to coach at a Division I school, but it was smaller in perspective to the University of Arkansas or Alabama or LSU. The teams that we had to play. The difference is that over time, the backups at those major institutions, they're first team All-State, they're 4- and 5-star players. The backups are just as good. And what really comes into play are the special teams, because a special teams player at a lower level institution, he may be all district in high school or all region, not at the big boys. Those guys are still All-State, they're still All-American, 4-star recruits. So they wear you out over time. What you try and do is you just try and stay in the game as long as you possibly can. And the longer you're able to do so, the pressure starts mounting to the other sideline, and you just hope, that they don't handle that pressure very well.
Yeah, that's perfect. I'll just piggyback on what Coach just said about, 2 things. I do think depth plays a role, but when you're able to stay in a game, especially with a lead and you're the underdog or a smaller school, it begins to put all the pressure on your fans, on the player, and it's palpable. Here Saturday, you could feel it, and that is one thing that does help those smaller schools. If the longer they're in the game, the more they start believing that they actually can win. You let a team like that stay with you in the second half, and you're in a battle, and you don't want to be in a coin flip in the fourth quarter. I know I'll just speak for Saturday night. There wasn't, and I speak for the fans too. You could feel there wasn't any sense of urgency, energy when we came out. And you could feel it in the crowd, I think somewhat with our team because they feed off each other. And it wasn't until really that fourth quarter with the big play that everybody decided to turn it on, including, the 70+ thousand that had shown up to hopefully see a bit of an easier win.
Well, guys, there's a lot. With technology today, the coaches, we're not wizards on proving to our own football team that that the opponent is better than they are. Our kids know. They watch ESPN. They listen to the media. They realize they're a triple-digit favorite, and as a result, they're no different than the fans. They come in with a more relaxed attitude, and when that happens, you have the potential to. We like to say around here, you can get ambushed, and you better recover quickly, or it's going to be a long week that following week on campus.
Yeah.
I think Coach Saban has said it well and said it best when he talks about eating the rat poison. I mean, I think all of us do it. I think fans do it. It feeds into the players. It feeds into everybody. Not so sure about the coaches, because I think every coach is it doesn't matter who you're playing. You have got a little nagging fear in the back of your head of a what if, and that's what a coach does, right? We're always looking for the what if scenarios and how to fix them before they happen.
Yeah, that nagging piece of your brain, it gets larger as the week grows on, and then it's multiplied by the fan base, slower to show up into the stands. The players sense it. It's not as loud. It's not as electric, and I tell you, you got to really double down as a player, because you got to overcome it, create your own energy, and call it what it is. These guys that are playing in college right now, most of them have just been out of high school for a year or two, and kids today are playing earlier than they probably should be. And so, they're just not mature enough to handle, the weekly piece of, I've got to be at my best. If not, things aren't going to go well for us. And you also got to remember that, the smaller schools, those players were told no by the major institution. And so they show up with a chip on their shoulder, and, all they need is that to go out and play with high energy and play well. And so, all those things lead into a potential upset. And if your defense can't stop the run, the clock's going to keep running, because they're just going to keep running it. And now you're running a lot less plays than you plan on offensively. So it's just really difficult to overcome that. And so, it makes for great theater. I'm not saying it's very comfortable to be on the sidelines when that's happening.
Well, I'll tell you what it made. I was teasing our people that run the concessions. I was like, it was a concession conspiracy to keep everybody in the stands through that fourth quarter. No telling how much more money they made last Saturday night by having a tight game in the fourth.
Spoken like somebody in the business, right? It's all about the revenue.
That's right. That's right. That's it.
Well, I think that the like you're talking about, the atmosphere and stuff does have a big, this week I thought that was big for A&M. It's going to be interesting to see, when they come up here and play in Jerry World. But we had the third or fourth largest audience there this year. It was 107,000 people in the stands, and they packed it early, and were pretty boisterous. And so the team came out on a high, after being upset, by Appalachian State. So it's going to be interesting to see if they can continue to take that to Jerry World. I'm looking forward myself to going back to home games. I understand, we were playing in two separate conferences when that started over at Cowboys Stadium, but I'm ready to go back. I enjoyed coming up there, to Fayetteville. So I'm looking forward to that returning. It'll be good for both of the towns as well. I think, to me anyway.
I agree.
More with that.
So, Shannon, I agree with that. There's nothing like the atmosphere at a college campus in particular. So Jerry World is a little bit agnostic, right? But when you get into the college campus, it's totally different atmosphere. So just shifting gears a little bit, Coach, you mentioned the nagging sense of expectations, I guess. And you look at this game in particular, A&M expectations super high, through the roof, lost to App State, kind of dampened things a little bit. Nice comeback win yesterday. I sense there's still that imbalance of our expectations and our performance isn't exactly matching up, right? And then we look at the Hogs, and I think expectations were fairly high in the beginning of the year. and I think that is still building. And I feel excitement building. And maybe it's just because I do the radio show on a weekly basis with one of the biggest backers, Lyndon. But I know other folks as well who are pretty high on the Arkansas program. So it feels like this is a good game, a test on both sides from that perspective. What do you guys? I'll start with the guy in the business on the campus. What is the feeling, Sean, for Razorback fans right now?
Well, it doesn't take much for us to drink the Kool-Aid. We had a couple of lean years not too long ago, so yeah. And I think a lot of fans, and whether it's Coach Ford's community or with Shannon's with A&M, man, before the season starts, I mean, everybody really is all in. Fans' expectations are really normally not super realistic.
Right.
They just aren't. But I think this game for us and truthfully, it's probably a bigger game than it is for A&M, and they won 9 of the last 10. So we're still trying to get back and even that type of thing up. But yeah, our fans are excited. I think our program's on the rise. Things like neutral site games, we played at home. We haven't been anywhere yet this year. I do think that always presents a challenge initially when you have to take, and Coach Ford said it, when you take young guys on the road, even if it's not a quote hostile environment, you're on a plane, you're on the bus, you're there the night before. It's a night, it's a night game. So all those things play into. I think it'll be the real first, certainly the best challenge we've had this year.
Yeah, and I think you've got some exciting players on the field this year that you may not have had in the past. There's team speed wise, there's a lot more team speed on Arkansas this year than there has been in the past. So I'm looking forward to that, especially in that environment. You've got a nice pristine field, which speed is definitely going to be a factor.
Yeah, I think there'll be a lot of energy on both sides to start the game. I can promise you that.
No doubt about it.
In the stands, anyway.
Yeah.
So, Coach Ford, real quick, again, I don't know when you've got to go, but I want to get this question in before you do. Obviously, one of the most popular players, hardest working players, somebody that's just given every ounce of who he is to the Razorback football is Bumper Pool. Some people call that the greatest name in college football, and I wouldn't deny that. You coached him at Lovejoy. So tell us your thoughts about Bumper. I mean, is what we're seeing at Arkansas, what you saw at Lovejoy, is that really who that man is?
Yeah, there's no doubt. I appreciate the question. He's one of the greatest competitors, that I've had the ability to coach. And I've coached some really good ones. The name fits him absolutely perfect. He's a thumper, is what I like to say. He loves contact. He loves to play fast. He loves to play physical. Had the opportunity to coach him, and I became a better coach when we installed the Wildcat into our short yardage and put him at quarterback and told him to go make plays. But Bumper is phenomenal. His entire family, they're Arkansas, and if anyone believes it, he does. I think a tribute to him is he came back for another year, to be a part of it. He absolutely personifies Arkansas football, and his entire family. They're great people. Mom, dad, brothers and sister. They're just phenomenal. But Bumper is tremendous. A middle linebacker to a T. Now I know he plays a little outside linebacker now, but he is just everywhere. If he's not playing full speed and as I like to say, tearing up really good equipment, something's wrong with him, and he loves to. One of the best stories I have of him, we were playing a pretty important district game his senior year, and it was late in the fourth quarter, and the opponent was driving down to score and make it close. We were winning, but it's a two-score game, and late in the fourth quarter, and our opponent called timeout, and out of the timeout, they hit a player outside on their sideline, outside the numbers, and they hit him. And we came out of our timeout, and our corner didn't recognize that there was a receiver hiding on their sideline, and it's illegal, by the way, but they got away with it. Anyways, we start yelling and jumping on the sideline, and Bumper looks, and he sees it, and he turns and sprints. The ball's on the far hash, and he takes an angle of about 35 yards and he is on a dead sprint. And of course, they snap the ball. Of course, they throw it to him down the sideline, and Bumper gets there right as the ball arrives, and he knocks it out. One of the greatest plays that I've ever seen. I've seen a lot of football. One of the greatest plays I've ever seen, not only post snap, but just recognizing what was happening. They were running a fake on us, and it absolutely would have been successful. And I had visions of him sprinting across the field and getting there as the ball did, and he knocked the ball away. And some people have it as far as the instincts go. He has it. He knows where the ball is, and he's going after it. And I could not personally be happier for him with the success he's had at Arkansas. But I know the success that it generates for his family and the pride that they have, based on how he's done. I'm super excited for him. I know he's getting a degree here probably really soon, and I just hope he remembers me one day when he's super successful.
Oh, I'm sure he will. Shannon, I'm going to get you in here in a second. I want to ask Sean something real quick. When Coach Ford talks about bumper pull and that mentality, obviously everybody that's paid any attention to Arkansas and understands Coach Sam Pittman, who he is and where he's come from, you being right there in the center of it all. I mean, how has that changed the whole mindset and culture of Razorback football? I mean, that's the way it used to be. I used to tell people this, and I'm not an expert, but I used to say that Arkansas doesn't often get a 5-star or 4-star recruit, but they have coaches that can take those 3 stars, kind of like what Coach Ford said, with the chip on their shoulder, and they can coach them up. And those guys play their butts off. And that was always, to me, growing up, that was Arkansas football. It was just these guys that were relentless. And I'm so proud to see that again. I mean, you just see the fighting mentality and that blue-collar attitude that Coach Pittman's brought. Give us your thoughts on what you think about that. I mean, is it hype or is it true?
Yeah, no, I think it's true. And anybody that's been in the game for any period of time will tell you, O-line coaches themselves are often one of the most popular coaches on the staff. It just, for whatever reason, that is how it is. And Coach Pittman I was here when Coach Bielema was here. Coach Pittman was on the staff. And, he's a blue-collar guy. He's going to grind it day in and day out. He's going to be a player's coach, but hold them accountable. So he just took that position coach mentality, and he's carried that culture forward to the whole team. I mean, a great point to me, guys like Bumper Poole on that side of the ball, but you take KJ Jefferson as a quarterback, KJ's a blue-collar quarterback. If he needs to run, he's going to run. If he needs to break a tackle, he'll do that. I think that, to your point, Lyndon, that is exactly what's changed. The expectation that we should win football games, having that expectation, but also coming with it just the daily, day in and day out, work hard, every play, every practice, and Coach Pittman's super consistent, and I think that's what hopefully you'll see from our team as well.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's exactly what I think I've seen. I mean, when you get ready to tune in on a Friday, you might not win, but you know what you're going to see. You know what kind of fight you're going to get out of the guys, and I think for Arkansas, that's been a breath of fresh air since Coach Pittman got there as previously, and for whatever reason, it just didn't seem like Arkansas had that same fight mentality in them, and it's fun to see it back. I mean, that gives you a lot of pride and a lot of appreciation. Shannon, talk a little bit about A&M. I mean, where's Coach Fisher right now? I mean, what's he got to get fixed in order for A&M fans to? I will say this. Let me back up real quick. One of the things that irritates the crap out of me, and I respect at the same time, is the never wavering enthusiasm of an A&M fan. I mean, if y'all could go 0-100 and you're going to show up to games,
yeah,
you're going to be excited about being there.
We hope so.
And I mean, that to me, that's a true fan. You can't say A&M fans are bandwagon fans. They're not bandwagon fans. It doesn't matter if you win or lose. Y'all are there. Now, y'all may complain and gripe about the coach and the situation, but y'all are there to support the team. So I can appreciate that.
Yeah. Well, it's like Sean was talking about. There's lean years that you go through, and then there's, good times, and Fortunately, when I was there, R.C. Slocum was our coach, and we won a lot of football games and had the wrecking crew, and it was, it was a good time no matter. And I think we did lose 1 year to the school over there on 35 while I was there, but we beat them 6 other times out of 7 years. So I had a good run there with that whole deal. I'm kind of looking forward to that coming back. I don't like putting money in their pocket, but I do look for that. But it's hard, because most of A&M fans right now, for Jimbo to do what he's supposed to do is win a national championship, and that is a lot of pressure to be under, coming in. But I think he's got the personality and the experience and the level in order to do it. I mean, he's done it already once. He's put together really good recruiting classes. I think this year we had a little more optimism than what they had. We lost a lot of guys to the NFL, and the big programs do, but we just now have been stacking these guys up. Like you guys were talking about, of getting 5-star and 4-star players, so you don't have the drop off. I was really worried this week coming in, especially going in the second half, because we suspended 4 of our freshman players, 2 5-star and 2 4-star players. One of them was starting receiver and one of them was starting defensive back. And then the other one played in the rotation because we play 5 defensive backs every game. So there's 10 guys coming in and out of there. And so and then 2 of our defensive backs get thrown out for targeting, and I was like, who do we have left? I mean, you talk about 12th man, they're going to have to go pull somebody out of the stands and put them in there as a defensive back, because we were losing players. But they've gone through that, and they weathered through that storm. And we talked last week before the game about whether Haynes King was going to be in there or not, and of course they pulled him out and started Max Johnson in his place, who played a year and a half at LSU as a starting quarterback, beat us the last game of the season last year with a outstanding performance. And so he managed the game pretty well. I think that's all that they were looking for from them. I think he only threw for about 150 yards, but threw a touchdown, didn't turn the ball over, and did pretty well. He's not as mobile as Haynes King, but I think he still ran a couple plays. I think he had one that was about an 11-yard run, but he's a tough quarterback, and a bigger quarterback too. He's more of your pro style type quarterback that's going to stand there in the pocket. He's going to take the hits and pressure and throw the ball. So it's going to be good to see, how he looks after coming after a whole week of practicing with the first team, because he really didn't, do that from what I saw. I mean, I went down to 2 practices during the spring last year and went down to the spring game.
Freeze up, Shannon. I think he froze up.
Shannon,
All right, here's a big question. We don't have much time left. We got about 7 minutes, so I want to get score predictions for the Arkansas A&M game, and then the last few minutes, I guess Brian will talk a little bit about the Cowboys, and I'm not going to say they're back, but because I
might have to go get my Pepto-Bismol if you're saying the Cowboys are back.
No, I'm not saying they're back, but Coach Ford, if you want to make a prediction on the game this weekend, you might not want to, but you're welcome to, and Sean, you as well.
Well, I will, and then I'll have to step off I gotta get going, but I think my loyalties are probably gonna lie a little bit to the state to the north of us a little bit, just due to my my familiarity with the Poole family and Bumper and his whole deal. Obviously Kendall Briles, he grew up in this state and has done great things, and I expect it to be a close game. I expect any pro game is going to come down in the last 4 or 5 minutes of the fourth quarter. I think this has the makings of being a really close football game as well. I think you guys have hit on a lot of the topics here. Young players having to travel for the first time, get on planes, get in hotels. It's not Disney World. It's actually a business trip. All the while, you're about to go into an environment that's just going to be electric, and you have to play well, and you have to do it week after week after week. So that being said, I think Arkansas has the ability to win it. They've got a quarterback with experience, although Max Johnson, he's a proven winner in the SEC. I think that really helps the case with A&M. But, big games are going to be lost rather than won. So you need to run the football and you need to create turnovers. And I think those two things will be the difference, Saturday afternoon.
Awesome. All right, Sean, what about you? What do you think?
Yeah, just to echo what Coach said, I think it'll come down in the fourth quarter. A&M, great defense. Arkansas is going to want to run the ball. A&M is really good, even on the back end. I don't see it being I could be wrong. I don't see it being an incredibly high-scoring game. When you look at those two things and you match up our defense versus their offense, something's got to give. And Coach Ford will appreciate. Usually, it comes down to a big play, special teams, maybe a turnover. We can't turn the ball we turned the ball over 3 times against Missouri State. We do that and we don't win. If we protect the ball and play smart and KJ moves the chains consistently, I look for a score like 2017, 24-20 Hogs.
Yeah. Shannon, what about you? What are your thoughts on the score?
I think it'll be a close game. I don't think it'll be very high scoring. Maybe 20-17 A&M.
I'm going to go 2017 Arkansas, but I agree with you. And I think Arkansas has got to run the football. I think they got to keep, the A&M offense off the field because we are weak in our secondary. And we got a good run defense. We're leading in sacks, but, big plays could kill us really quick. And so I think our best defense right now is running KJ and Rocket and whoever else we can get back there. And I think Kendall Browse has done a great job of establishing and sticking with the run. I mean, minus the 4th down and 9 play the other day, I think, that's not, in my opinion, the best time to run the football. But he gets paid more than I do for that call. But so that's 3 Arkansas to 1 A&M. Sorry about that, Shannon.
No, hey, let me throw my vote in there as an eternal optimist, as you can see by the Cubs fan, the Cubs hat in my background here. I agree with all of you in that it's going to be a low-scoring game. I take A&M 21, Arkansas 17, and that 21 is going to include 2 defensive touchdowns. So it's going to be a knockdown, drag them out, and that's so. Shannon, I got your back on this one as an eternal optimist.
It's good.
All right.
I just want to see them give Devon Achane the ball more. If they get him in space, one-on-one, the man he's gone. He's so fast, and it's funny. He got a bad rap when he came in because they're like he's a track star. He's a 3A guy. He runs track. He runs a 10-2-200. And he's just going to, be here on track, and he might run some, kickoffs back or something. But I'm going to tell you, pound for pound, he's probably the toughest guy on the team. And I mean, he'll take hits, he'll run over you, but you give him a yard and he's gone.
That kid scares me. I'll be honest with you. I hope he gets lost and can't find the locker room.
Yeah,
because he's dangerous. One of the things I read, and Sean and Coach, obviously when y'all talked about playing at night, traveling, all of this, but both of these teams have played in outdoor stadiums their first 3 games. Now they're playing in an indoor stadium where there's a huge supply of visual distractions, right? I mean, think about returning a punt and you're looking up and there's a jumbotron and all this other stuff. I think that's a factor that could be overlooked. And how they're prepared and how they're, how they can handle the just that different atmosphere.
That's assuming they don't actually kick the punt off of the scoreboard. It's hard to return a punt when it actually bounces off the scoreboard.
Correct.
Lyndon, I think you're right. Listen, that place, if there's any that's designed for distractions, it's there. And maybe that's why Jerry brings A&M up there so they can be distracted. I don't know, but
Good point, Coach.
It is full of distractions from the locker to as soon as you drive in, the locker rooms, everything. It's first class. It's phenomenal. And look, that's what as coaches we try and do is eliminate distractions, from cell phones to anything. But I'll say this: I don't know if both bands are traveling. If they are, I can tell you from experience that a dome stadium is extremely loud, and because there's nowhere for the noise to go. So you have bands playing, you have fans cheering. It is absolutely a difficult place to play if you get inside somewhere. So crowd noise will be it can be a factor, and it'll be exciting to see how they handle it. You probably will see some false starts early before they settle down and actually just play traditional football as we know it.
Yeah.
Right. Well, we're out of time. We didn't get to talk about the Cowboys, but we'll wait and see. Maybe we can talk about them again next week and have something good to say. Gentlemen, I appreciate y'all being on the show. Coach Ford, it's a pleasure to meet you. Sean, I know we've talked a couple of times, since our playing days, but it's really good to reconnect with you again. Shannon, as always. Brian, I'll let you close us out. And for all the sports fans out there, keep tuning in. We're enjoying this. And if you've got some ideas and thoughts about what we can do to bring more sports to you, let us know.
Yeah, for sure, Lyndon. Thank you for that. Coach Ford, thanks for coming on. Gentlemen, thanks for coming on, talking about the upcoming game at AT&T Stadium this weekend. Going to be great against, just these first opening few weeks of football is fantastic at all levels. So, Coach Ford, good luck to you tomorrow. Crosstown rival. It'll be great to see that one. And to all the viewers, thanks again for tuning in. Like you said, Lennon, we're all kind of dedicated sports nerds here, so we enjoy doing this. Hopefully you're getting some good content out of it. We are on every Thursday at noon live, and then we go recorded after that, so you can check us out. We encourage you, if you are live, please comment, do a little smack talk in the comments. And if you want to come on, if you're comfortable coming on live, more than happy to have you on as well for any big game coming up. So with that, we'll sign off for this week. Have a wonderful weekend. Enjoy the football this weekend, and we'll see you next Thursday at noon.
Go Hogs.
Go Hogs.
There you go.
Go ahead.
Thanks for listening. We'll be back next week again for a fresh round.